Here is the behind the scenes play-by-play of an existing business that I purchased in 2021. I actually agreed to the purchase price of $75,000. I was scheduled to take it over in March and didn't actually take it over until June 1. Now, this is the second business, an existing business that I acquired. The first business was a roll-off company, waste management company that was run by my ex-husband's cousin. It was a more seamless transaction. I actually acquired that business for only $50,000. It already had an incredible book of business and the cousin ran it seamlessly. So it was an immediate gain. I mean, it was incredible from day one. I had to do really nothing other than keep the books, make sure that there was compliance, etc. So when this opportunity was presented, based on my ignorance and the time that I acquired it, I assumed that it would be similar in fashion, and that was my mistake. So here are the critical errors that I made. All I did was look at the top line. I looked at the book of business and what the sales were because I just wanted to see who was supporting the business, because my particular skill set is operations and finance. So I know 100%, because this is just what I do on a regular, is I go into businesses and I tidy it up to the point where they don't even have to make one extra sale. We're gonna find all kinds of money that is being wasted and lost due to inefficiencies. So I'm confident in that area. But because I didn't look at this business through the other multiple lenses, there were some surprises. One of the surprises was the fact that the two young ladies that had been with the business for 2 to 7 years, though they were 100% on board to stay, and they are still with me today, I didn't realize that they didn't want to work 40, 50 hours a week. So they were very clear, unfortunately, after the fact, but not their fault. It's just that I didn't think to ask and the owner didn't think to divulge that they were only willing to stay on in a part-time capacity because it is not their desire to work 40, 50 hours a week. The other surprise that I learned the hard way, and was I really beat myself up over this. It was a huge sticking point for me, is I didn't realize, because of the nature of the business, that many of the services that had already been paid for pre me taking over had not been rendered. So, of course, these are our clients. They were the previous business owner's clients and now my clients, and the services hadn't been rendered. So literally the first month that I took over the business, I had to render those services on my dime, meaning I could not take on any new business because we were cleaning up old business. And when something like that happens, especially for someone like me with so many years in business and so much expertise and so much knowledge, who makes a mistake like that, man, I really got in my head over that. Also, back to the why behind me purchasing this business, it was completely based on emotion and PTSD from 2020. And I can go into that further, not today, but there was a lot of emotion in the decision of buying this business, very little logic. So when I came in, the first thing that I did was tidy up systems and processes and transparency and metrics and, just really getting our numbers. How many customers do we have? What is their average spend? How long does each transaction take? And so forth. Just really doing a deep dive into the numbers. Some of the amazing things that happened within 45 days is the fact that the young ladies that used to have to work 40 hours a week to get the job done now only work 20 hours a week, right? Awesome. To get the same job done because we tidied up the back end. And then, of course, I was able to raise their pay to match. So now they make way more per hour and have to work less hours. So that's awesome. That's something to be super proud of. Even though we have a storefront, we actually don't serve the public. So we don't have to keep, an aesthetically gorgeous place for our clients because no clients come. But we do have to have a physical location for the type of license that we have. With that said, the young ladies who worked here, there were no air conditioners here. So I also immediately came out the pocket to give them a environment that they could be comfortable. And, if you know me, you know I'm super fancy, but this is my office. Chairs, it's definitely not aesthetically pleasing. It is super basic and functional. I made a vow that any business I operate, any new business I acquire, any business I operate, any new asset that I acquire, I was going to make it make sense. Bottom fucking line. I was not going to throw money at problems. I was not going to use other resources. So in other words, take from the mama to feed the baby. No, everything has to fucking stand alone on its own. Period. If it is not operating at a break even, if it is not operating at a profit, then we're going to do what it takes to get there because we are not robbing Peter to pay Paul. The other thing that I vowed that I wasn't going to do, and I have not, is to pile on too much responsibility onto the team just to drive sales. It's not fair. So being super in tune with what the team is willing to do, what their capabilities are at present, refining systems and processes, retraining, making sure that customer service is an excellent level before piling on more. Because one thing that I've noticed a lot of businesses doing, and I've even been guilty of this in my own previous businesses in scaling, is when you start to get new business, you're piling more on your team. And they are simply not equipped, not prepared, and in many cases, not compensated. So I vowed that I would not do that in this business. So what does that mean? Well, for me, it has been 1.5 years and it's been slow growth. It's been slow growth. It's been a lot of my time. I got to be honest with you. Some days I get very discouraged because the margins aren't what I thought and are not what some of my other acquisitions or assets produce. But I have to have a conversation with myself over and over, as most recent as last week. And it's, Amber, you claim to be the strategy specialist. Amber, you claim to be able to fix complex problems. So do it. Stop bitching about it. So for 1.5 years, a $75,000 purchase price, another $50,000 that I put in the bank for operating because we swing so far each month. And so I make sure that we don't bounce checks. I have a lot of money tied up into this, in addition to approximately 10 hours a week. And no, I have not been financially compensated yet, but there is a high probability that I will. But again, I'm doing this to manage your expectations, to be completely transparent, that you can in fact have to tie up your money, tie up your time, tie up your expertise, tie up your resources for the bigger picture. And it will work. Anything will work if you don't stop, if you don't give up. And that's literally the pep talk that I have to have with myself, because this one just didn't pop like some of my other things, However, I still believe it's uber valuable. I still believe in the model itself. I have 2 amazing women that are incredibly dependable and dedicated to the project. Sidebar, this might shock many of you, but I think it's worth noting that after 8-9 months or so, because I saw that this particular asset / business model was not something that was going to make a gazillion dollars, I decided to turn this into an experiment / project, more about purpose and impact. So I even gave the 2 young ladies that decided to stay on with me equal shares. So we're each 33% owner. But they have the safety net that they get a paycheck every month. So their base pay is more than what they were yielding with the previous owner, and not expected to do any more or any less. So they do have that safety net, which most partners don't get. But I structured it that way because I, again, am using this as an incubator and a vehicle to prove something to myself, that, you know, when you have profit sharing, when you have a buy-in, when you're operating from impact and purpose versus just profit, that it will withstand the longer test of time. And morally, it's something that I needed to do. And so we're applying that logic, even though many people have said that's nuts. I mean, I've done crazier shit, so.